this time, Martin Odegaard.
Zinchenko from Ketty, it's 4. Martinelli tiptoeing in. Predatory, perfect. There is a gorgeous arrogance about Arsenal now.
It really is. They are enjoying every second of this.
Hello and welcome to Not Another Arsenal Podcast, aka the Hector Bellerin of Arsenal Podcast. My name is Mike Hurd, your host, and today, boys, we're going to talk about what seemingly is a disappointing result or disappointing performance for some Arsenal supporters out there. A 1-0 win away at Old Trafford. 50% of the wins in the English Premier League. This is the stat that I'm obsessed with, by the way. Have came under Mikel Arteta. Apparently, Arsene Wenger was 3-22, and Mikel Arteta, thanks to the last few years, has made that 3-6, which is quite impressive. We're going to talk about our feelings, the performance, the result, and everything that happened after. Of course, we're going to touch a little bit about the recent transfer news, I'm going to say, because there's a lot of meltdown going on over the Eze departure to Spurs. The Trossard extension, potentially what that means for the dream of a left winger. A lot of speculation going on with that, and a lot of people really disappointed on, I'm going to say, the ending of our transfer window. But we're going to dive in. We're going to try to keep it nice and sweet. We do have a full house today. Kelly is back, which is awesome. Woot woot. First and foremost, as always, the introductions. Chris, welcome back, Chris.
Hello, Mike. Hello, Kelly. Good to have the three of us back. First game of the season. I can't remember a first game of the season where we had more to talk about. It feels like there's so much to say because there's so much going on, and we saw such a different face of Arsenal in this game, and we'll get into it. Hopefully we'll avoid a 2-hour podcast, although I'm sure that will make Abreu kind of sad. But it's been a weird couple of days on Twitter. It's been a weird day for work today. We'll see how it comes out, but it's such an odd beginning to the season, and I'm interested to see where we kind of net out, because I think there's a lot of things swirling, not a lot of things landing, and we're going to try to land the plane, but I'm not sure if we're great pilots. We'll just have to see where we go. So yeah, should be good. Looking forward to it.
Very nice. And of course, Kelly, first time back in 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah, it's been a bit. I had some issues with migraine headaches a couple weeks ago, so I had to sit out. It was I'm sure there's an ex-Arsenal player that struggled with migraine headaches. Famously, I'm from Minnesota, so Percy Harvin, who is a controversial Vikings wide receiver, struggled with migraines. I think it was later revealed that he liked to go to Vegas and not practice, and so all of a sudden he'd get a migraine during bye weeks and would kind of go away. I assure you, I was vomiting on the floor of my bathroom, and I was not going absconding to Vegas, and I had a family vacation last week. So it was interesting to get plugged back in, because I mean, as long as we've had this podcast, which, Mike, again, this is episode 200. We've done 200 of these damn things, which is amazing, and thank you. A lot of you in the chat have been here for a lot of it, if not all of it, so thank you for that. But it was interesting.
We pick up 1.5 subscribers per episode. We are killing it, guys.
I know, man. I mean, if we do this for another decade or so,
we'll have 500.
We're gonna be able to have a small meet and greet somewhere at some point where you guys
small. I wouldn't call it a venue. It's a very small back end.
I want to be practically 60 years old, Kelly. I'm not sure about.
It'll be a cash bar too, because we don't have any Patreons or ad revenue to go and pay for drinks for you guys too. We'll maybe do one round of shots, no yag, and that's what we'll cover. But no, it was interesting to be that. I've never been that detached before a season in a really, really long time. So I was on a family vacation out of town, and I came back, and I think my reaction, as Mike even said online, Mike was talking me off the ledge, kind of in our back channels, and
desperately trying to,
like grabbing with both hands, like pulling Kelly off the ledge after this. So I was kind of surprised by my reaction to how it played out when you kind of, as I step back, I'm feeling a little bit more magnanimous and normal about it, but it's a weird lead in. It was a strange match, and it was a kind of an unexpected result versus performance. And it's going to be fun to dig into and try to parse, I guess, personally, to parse my feelings about it. and probably also pull myself off the ledge and be like, dude, calm down. This is the what's and the whys and all that type of stuff. But
here comes some epic monologues. Get ready for it, guys.
yeah, I haven't been drinking a ton on the podcast, and I am going to be this time. So like, sit down and lend me an ear.
By the way, Kelly, I think the Arsenal player that suffered from migraines a lot was actually the Hector Bellerin. So you guys had something in common.
So
There's
much
not.
in
There's no
common,
way that's
Kelly.
true.
Wow.
I made that up. I'm sorry.
There's not a chance of that.
Kelly's coming back next week telling us he's vegan, by the way. All right, so let's dissect that a little bit, by the way. Before we normally start off with the starting lineup and have a chat about that, but let's just talk about. I'm gonna say, hey, let's talk about our feelings here, boys. Look, quite frankly, this is my interpretation of it. Was it pretty? Absolutely fucking not. But this is what I'm holding on to. Lots of times I remember a few years ago, I think it was like the COVID year when we had to do the opener versus Brentford, I think that was coming up back in the first division. Huge crowd, huge roar. The atmosphere was absolutely insane. And we all knew it was going to be a really tough fixture. Unfortunately, it didn't play out for us. We ended up losing that game. Past games, Manchester United, Old Trafford, always like traditionally difficult venue for us. I believe it was last season where we outplayed the fuck out of them. We ended up drawing the game, if I'm not mistaken. And so this whole like almost smash and grab thing at Old Trafford, first game of the season, and I'm gonna say versus an improved United, I'm willing to be, I'm gonna say, okay with it. And I don't want to paper over the cracks and tell everybody like, hey, don't worry about the shit performance. Don't worry that they outshot. I don't want to minimize that either because I fully understand that. But I think week 2 and 3 and 4 are like, I'm like, okay, I want to see the patterns of play that develop. But being that Old Trafford is such a bogey place for us to go to, we never know what kind of result is. I'm holding on to this, guys. I truly believe that if this was week 9, we would be talking about we can't drop points, guys. And if we went and had that exact same performance, everybody would be like, who gives a shit? We walked away with 3 points. And I also believe that with time, United are going to prove that they're a better quality than last season. I know, jokingly, you could say that's not hard to accomplish, but I do think that their front line, Cunha, Mbueno, Sesko, are going to come good. By the way, every time I see Cunha, my goodness, what a type of player he is. I think I could like add everything up in context and allow the bad performance, if you will, to slide, because I feel like in a different scenario, in a different game week, and with a little bit of a benefit of hindsight, I think we could look back at this and kind of, I'm going to say, enjoy it. And just one comment that came in really early on that I highlighted, and this is true because it's kind of funny to me. Steve-O typed this up in the live chat. It's surreal when Mark Goldberg and something Jennings, I forgot his first name, are more measured about us than actual Arsenal supporters. And that Jennings character, he was the one
Jennings.
fucking bashing people for, what is it, fancy dress? For having the audacity of wearing a football kit on. And Mark Goldberg has been more measured for a while, but the Jennings things kind of surprised me. So I don't know. That's all what I was using as ammo to try to talk Kelly off the ledge, as he described. Chris, take the mic from me. Tell me, how are you feeling with the aftermath and I'm going to say with the benefit that we tend to podcast a few days after. So I truly think the podcasting a few days after is really beneficial, really helpful for us.
It is. And I had mixed feelings about the game, to be honest. Like, it looked sloppy. It was not a good performance, as you said. But I've had this thought now since the game on Sunday that if you live through the Wenger years playing games at Old Trafford, you think if you go down memory lane for a second, we won the double in 2002 with the Will Tord goal. We had, I believe it was when Ruud van Nistelrooy got the penalty and he missed it, and Martin Keown jumps in his face, right? Like the iconic yellow jersey and the iconic kind of like forearm coming down on Ruud Nistelrooy, and just like a scream of defiance even that we had beaten them. We had the 49th game. We were trying to go 50 unbeaten that got stolen from us, the Battle of the Buffet, where Cesc Fabregas throws the pizza at Alex Ferguson in the tunnel. You have the game, I think it was in 2009 or 2008, where Wenger gets thrown out of the game for kicking a water bottle by Mike, and Mike Dean throws him out, and Wenger stands on the retaining wall and puts his hands out like he's touchdown Jesus, or the thing in not Sao Paulo, but Rio de Janeiro. Now Abreu's going to kill me. I mean, the game we lost 8-2. I mean, there's just so many iconic triumphs, but also just absolutely just absolutely deflating defeats we've had at that stadium. And if you've lived through that, like many of us have, I think you bring a perspective to playing at Old Trafford that maybe if you're a newer fan, and no one's criticizing anybody for being a newer fan, maybe you don't carry those wounds with you so much. And you just look at United, and maybe for the entirety of your Arsenal fandom, you've known United to be really mediocre, right? You've known them to be sometimes finish in Champions League, sometimes finished way outside Champions League like last season. And so, you expect better from Arsenal, who are supposed to compete for the title again this year against a team that finished 15th. So for me, though, I've been following Arsenal for over 25 years. I lived through those victories and defeats, and I've seen a lot of really bad defeats there. I mean, it's one of the bogey grounds of our club. We almost never win there. Arsene Wenger, as good as he was as a coach, barely won there. In fact, Arteta's been much better. Now, Arteta's played historically a much worse United team, but I think the club carries those wounds regardless of who the players are. And it's always good to get a win. Now, to your point, Mike, I think you make a really good one. If this is week 9 or week 12, or I think anything past week, the first couple weeks, I think we're asking even bigger questions. But I think the fact that it's the first week we're betting in 2 new players, it looks to me like we're trying to play a different, faster, more direct style of play that we only really featured in one preseason game. I think you take that 1-0 win 10 times out of 10. You get the hell out of Manchester and you lick your wounds and you live to fight another day against Leeds in match week 2. And that's kind of where I've netted out. As disappointed as I was in the performance, I think we're feeling a lot worse if we leave that stadium losing to that club, or even drawing and starting off the season already behind the 8 ball in a season where there's so much expectation for us to win something big. And I think that's the main headline or the main theme for me.
We might have potentially got even worse press had we played good and lost the game.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Mike.
Yeah.
Somebody said, or somebody posted, how did we feel about that great performance against PSG when we lost? And I think there's a valid point there. So my reaction, I think, was based, and again, we have a 30-person back channel with a bunch of different, mostly American-based Arsenal fans, and I was the doom and gloom of that. And there were people who were normally fairly doom and gloom. They'd be like, "Hey, like, buck up, buddy. Like, it's okay." Or, like, we're trying to cheer me up, because I think my expectation was such that we would just go and bash them, and we didn't. But we need to be reasonable about who we're playing and where. They spent a shitload of money. They had players with their tails up. It's still Manchester United at Old Trafford. And even when they stink, they typically get us, right? And I don't think this Manchester United stinks. They finally have a manager who, I don't think he has a great system, but he isn't a mug. He isn't an idiot. They got a bunch of good players. They overpaid for all these guys that are very Premier League ready, who have played Arsenal a bunch of times. And they stood up and did relatively well, which they should, because they have a squad that's incredibly expensively assembled with a lot of talent. They've just been complete jerk-offs for the last half decade. And I don't think they're great, but I mean, playing away at, say, the 7th or 8th best club in the Premier League opening weekend, where everybody's rested, ready to go, and jacked up in front of 75,000 people, that's a tough thing. Somebody else brought up, I think in our back channel, it might have been Dean, that said, or forwarded on, that only 2 away teams won in opening weekend. It was City
Jared.
Against, who was that?
That was Jared.
Jared. Yeah, Jared brought that up. Thanks, Jordan. only 2 away teams won. One of them, I think, was City just paddled Wolves, who are like hanging on by their fingernails every season, and then Arsenal at Old Trafford. So we were the only club that won at a top half ground, basically. And when things don't work and you can still engineer ways to get through it, and here's the thing that makes me feel better, kind of like before we get into the nitty gritty, the things that we can still rely on as a club and as our team, the things that didn't work was going forward, which is frustrating and stressful because that's what we need to work on and improve. But the work rates and defensive solidity and individual defensive performances by not only the starters, but the substitutes and the goalkeeper, that's good because that's something that we can rely on consistently. We have a very, very good goalkeeper. We have 2 elite center backs. And I would argue we played our 2 inferior, probably fullbacks to start. They did okay. And then our better defenders came on and locked everything down. So like in the grand scheme of stuff we're going to bitch about, going to Old Trafford, not playing great and taking our chance and then just smothering them largely. And we'll get into this too. And Mike, I think, had a good point that it resonated with me more afterwards, that like, if you want to be a stat sheet person, you look at the stats, but there was an awful lot of like optimistic pops by United and a lot of like long range, just whacking the ball. Like they couldn't do a whole lot in the way of creating clear chances when they got into deep positions, and neither could we. And their goalkeeper stinks, and we're good at set pieces, and that was the slide that went in our favor, I guess. And again, we'll get out of the nuance, but I think I've come around to thinking that I was too over the top on the front end. It's not great, but like, look at our first 6 matches are fucking. It's ridiculous that this happens. It's not a random assignment. Like, it's good for the league if Arsenal is in crisis early, and it's good for the media. So we're putting in 3 of the most difficult 5 away matches in the first 6 games for Arsenal to make sure that they're on the fucking rack to start. And then, but we don't want them to be too far down. So we're going to give them a couple meatballs like Leeds and everything too. So it's a really interesting, not scheduled quirk, but it's engineering storylines from the start. And this is a pretty big positive check, I think.
Yeah. The last little bit, just because I brought it up towards, and again, talking about our back channel, and I don't want anybody to feel like I'm attacking them. I'm not that type of supporter, but I do kind of wonder, like, I almost felt in the moment when I got caught up with all the negativity, I got off the negativity train fairly quick. It took me like 20 minutes after, and I'm like, fuck it, we won, who cares? But part of it is, and I talk about expectations a lot, so many times, and I always say it's the thief of joy. I'm at the point where, like, fuck, we went from being irrelevant in the league to challenging to now, instead of viewing this game and saying, fuck, hopefully we don't start off the season 4-0, we're like, I'm angry because they got like fucking 10 shots that were worth 0.6% fucking XG. And I'm angry because we didn't play good, but we walked away with the 3 fucking points. So I'm trying to find the line in which I could be critical, but also grateful of the situation that the club is living. And I know that there's plenty of supporters out there that's going to say, what moment is the club living? We haven't won shit. Still better than fucking 8-2, guys. Yeah. Just, hey, man, enjoy the good times at football, because it doesn't always end with the championship. You know,
I'll say this too. Also, that's a great point, Mike. And I think all you have to do is look at how Arteta talked about how the players responded. That they had just gone in there, didn't play well, still be an improved United side, who I think played probably that game they played better than they did all season last season. And part of that's because they have better attacking talent. Part of it's because I think tactically they played a smart game against us.
They played like an effective mid-table team.
Well, exactly.
And we'll get into that.
Yes, but I think the encouraging thing is that Arteta said the players were pissed off in the dressing room. They were not happy with their performance. They did not think that they did well. And they could have easily said, we got the points, let's move on. They could have reveled in winning at Old Trafford for, the 4th time or whatever under Arteta, but not that many times in the last 25 years. And they expected more out of themselves. So I think again, sometimes that can come down to like chalk is cheap, but I do think that there's something to that the players, according to Arteta, are not satisfied with just 3 points. They want great performances too, because they know that they're not going to win every game where they don't play well. We're lucky that we ended up getting the points this time, but if you play like that against Liverpool at Anfield, you ain't making it out of there alive. So we got work to do, boys, and we've got 2 weeks to figure it out. So I'm glad that they have that attitude.
I think also like there's my brother's on. Nice.
Hey.
What's up, Al? There's legitimately something I think psychologically too to not, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do week 1, it gives you something to spark. And like the conversations that Arteta is going to have is exactly the conversations we're kind of having intellectually now, where it's like, you are good enough to win this match against United away, but you're not good enough to win at Newcastle away with this performance. You're not good enough to win at Liverpool away. And here's what we did well, and here's what we have to do a lot better. And a lot of it relates to stuff that we are normally really good at, which is like dual winning, winning the second ball, winning the battle of physicality. But again, the positives that we take from this are the tent poles of this team stepped up and had good matches. Like Odegaard did not have a good attacking match, but he had the most distance covered. He had an assload of ball recoveries, did all this defensive work.
He had 5 clearances. It's crazy.
5 clearances, like completely locked in.
Yeah. Gabriel,
who's basically had a bagel since his hamstring exploded, was fucking immaculate.
He was amazing.
Like underpowered physically, exactly back where he was supposed to be. Saliba had a few like rogue touches, but defensively was really good. Timber came on and looked like he was going to just eat everybody alive. As the second he came on, he was not there physically, I don't think, which is why he didn't start. But he wanted to absolutely murder everybody when he came on and completely shut down that side.
He looked like Cafu, man, out there. I swear.
Oh, God, like so good, and like even getting into it too, which we might get into. It was officiated weird because we have shitty officials, and like Gyökeres was getting rap tackled a bunch, but even he, after getting sick of being hauled down and not being called for fouls or not getting the foul call, he absolutely trucked De Ligt a couple times too.
Yeah.
Raya was completely on, had basically, besides one weird touch was basically faultless, did everything perfect the entire time. Like our 10 poles, the players that we rely on to have good matches, not all of them did, but the ones that did the things that we need to do to win matches, which is completely shut out the danger and basically give you, if you're going to beat us or get any points today, it's going to be a 40-yard screamer. And there's not a lot of 40-yard screamers every year. And while United has like industrious, hardworking, earnest, strong players like Cunha and Buemo, like these guys don't have the magic in their boots to do that. Which is why I say like this match you can lose all 3 points against Liverpool and play a match like this. You can lose all 3 points against Newcastle if Isak is playing. Haha, LOL at those fuckers. Like City can go and Erling Haaland can conjure something out of absolutely the clear blue sky and beat you. But like the other 14 teams can't if you just smother them out and they can't get anything. And then you get your cheap goal on the set piece and you can get out of there with 3 points. So like, I don't know, man. Like the more I think about it, like we probably would have gotten 3 points in this match out of like 2/3 of the teams we would play away on the opening day when everybody's charged up and ready to go, because we just don't give away a lot. And we have the best center back pairing in the world. And we have one of the best goalkeepers in the world. So that does a lot, even when we don't have the automatisms and you don't have the play patterns you want. Like, okay, cool. Well, we can still scrap a goal and then we can absolutely shit out the game on your pitch. And you can't do much besides take pops from a distance.
Gary Neville said it well. He said, Arsenal is probably the team that can best stink out a match going up 1-0. It's really hard when we go up early to come back on us just because we're so good defensively. So I think the trick is always that first goal. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
You dude, great minds and whatnot, because I was about to bring up the fact that I believe the quote was something about they feel incredibly comfortable in their skin when they're 1-0 up.
Yeah.
And so he was just saying, like, again, I feel like there's part of the nerves that comes to us as supporters, and you're like, ah, shit, don't screw this up. And I also think like they're the players in which they're like, we got this on lockdown, boys. So like our levels living it as supporters, and their levels living it as athletes. I'm pretty sure they're very well, engaged and feel very confident. If there was things that they could have done better, we're going to talk about this next, like transition, going forward in the final third. But I think defensively, for the most part, they were good. But when we did turn over the ball, we did allow a lot of cheap shots, in my opinion. But just slightly talking about the starting 11, Chris. More the biggest talking point. I mean, I know that Kelly alluded to our fullbacks being like the two weaker fullbacks, if you want to refer to them as that.
Yep.
I still think it's absolutely crazy that we're referring to Ben White as one of the weaker fullbacks, by the way. But I don't know if that is hindering, saying bad things about him, or just substantially saying positive things about Timber because he's such a quality player. But one thing that I stood out, I don't want to read too much into it, Chris, but talk me off of this ledge. It was a fitness thing, right? This is why Kai Havertz didn't start. I mean, that is my absolute best guess. To be completely honest with you, a few weeks ago, I kind of took the piss and said, "Hey, my starting center striker," and I posted a picture of Kai Havertz, and I got a little bit of just me poking the Twitter bear just for S&Gs, right? And everybody called me crazy.
A little bit of heat.
Yeah, and I got a little for all the dude, stupid me. I'm over here causing like hate engagements. All for no blue tick. I'm such an idiot. I could be making sense off of these tweets. Literally,
you could be making dimes. You could go and make enough money to buy one beer the next time that we have a preseason tour or a fan fest that we can connect with.
And ultimately, that is the goal. But starting 11, okay, let's analyzing Gyökeres. He started. I think we could agree for fitness purposes more than anything. But how do you think he did overall? And I know this is a difficult one to discuss, Chris, because I know that our attack wasn't exactly hot, but there were a few comments about Mika that this, suggesting that maybe the press could be a little bit harder or a little bit better, excuse me. And I'm so kind of firmly in the boat in which you don't buy a player in this, like I'm gonna in the ilk of Gyökeres and say, hey, play like Kai Havertz. I kind of feel like that's unjust. So how did you see his game?
Well, I think the important part is that we put the right players around him. Now, did it come off? No, he didn't get service. He made lots of runs, and I don't think the team that's been playing for us for a number of years quite knows what to do with this specimen of a player who doesn't, drop two lines deep. He actually runs behind the last line, trying to get in behind the last line of defense. That's just not how we've played, and I think we've built so much muscle memory playing one way that I think, the trick is if we're going to play more direct, if we're going to play more in transition, if we're going to play not with the first pass going backwards and everybody taking 3 passes to try and get into our shape, but rather first pass goes forward into Odegaard or Zubimendi or somebody who's a progressive carrier or a passer, that they're going to need more time on the training pitch and more game time to, I think, perfect that, just because we just haven't played that way. It's been the opposite of how we've played for 2 years. So I think we put the right players around him. And I do agree with you, Mike, that I think this was a fitness situation because Kai Havertz was reported to have felt something in one of the warm-ups or one of his trainings in preseason. And we need to play the long game, and we need to keep as many players fit for as long as possible. So you don't take chances on a guy who just had a hamstring surgery. You want to play it safe with them, make sure they're in peak top shape, because there are certain games where Gyökeres is going to be the right player to play number 9. There's going to be certain games where Kai is perfect for it. And if you only have one or the other due to injury, you're really limiting yourself in terms of your effectiveness going forward. So, didn't get service. I thought he ran hard. I thought he tried. I think he had some clumsy touches on the ball. I don't know if that's rust. If that's, he didn't have a full preseason.
It's noteworthy, I think, that those two distinct ones where he stepped on the ball and where he had a weird cross happened late in the match. And remember that he was basically on strike from Sporting for like weeks and weeks and training individually to force the move. And he's been on red eyes and shifting around everywhere. I agree with you. I think Havertz would have started if he didn't have the tweak or twinge. And one thing I will intersect, and we do talk about Clive from Arsenal Vision sometimes, I think he brought up that we have burnt out our players in the last like quarter of the season. They've all been injured for a while now. Is there something with the load management up front and like the training management and like how we're preparing that we're trying not to burn out our players in the first half of the season and try not to blow our hamstrings off the bone in the first half of the season? So we're trying to figure out how to lighten their workload and try to maybe not have as intensive training, because we've gotten off to storming starts and we've faded because of injury and just form. Maybe it's something where we're trying to manage our way through the first couple months or through the first international break and not put too many miles on some of these international players who play and are doing all this traveling to kind of soften the blow. Maybe that's pie in the sky, but kind of looking at it, I mean, we were really conservative with Kai because he looked like Kai when he came on. So he looked good. Timber looked fucking amazing when he came on. Like, looked like he would have been ready to rock and roll. And this is a guy who was dragging a dead leg across the pitch at the end of last year and was still playing every minute.
Supposedly Barcelona and Real Madrid inquired about him, by the way.
Don't get me started, doesn't it? Barcelona, it's like, 5 hand jobs and an IOU for a loan with a buy option. Yeah. I can't think of a player better, like culturally worse match for Barcelona than Jurgen Timber, who posts Bible verses before every match. He's going to go to that fucking chop shop and deal with that. Like, no. Like, he's a nice boy that needs to be at Arsenal and needs to be with other nice boys and in a comfortable environment. Like, there ain't no way that guy's going from having a lovely parting video where he's like talking to the academy at Ajax to going to Barcelona and having them try to replace him every 15 minutes and have fans try to stab him if he makes one bad pass. Like, there ain't no way. Dumbest shit ever.
Speaking of fullbacks, I think we played our 2 more attacking fullbacks in this game. I don't think you can really debate that. I think Ben White with his runs on the outside, overlapping Saka to give space for him to cut inside. It definitely does that more often than Timber. I think Timber is the better defensive and probably all-around fullback. And then Calafiori is like the agent of chaos on the left-hand side. He just runs wherever he wants. And I
love him. We need to do a section on him, by the way. God, he's fun.
We do. But I think that was on purpose because I think the goal was to get the first. I think the goal was to get the first goal. I think the goal was to try and absolutely roll over them, steamroll them in the first 20, 25 minutes, and then basically sit in our shape and beg them to try and score against us. Luckily, we got the first goal at 13 minutes with Calafiori off a header, but I think he looked quite good playing that agent of chaos role from left back. And I think that's going to be really handy for us. I'm really curious to see how that left-hand side works. And I said this last week, what's the combination of players in the left that you can get the most out of our attack with from a left back, left wing, and striker, and on left 8 position as well. I think Rice will mostly play the left 8, but how does that side work together when you've got a Gyökeres, for example, up top versus a Kai, versus a Martinelli or a Madueke on the left? I think it's a really interesting evolution that might happen on that side that will allow us to not be so right-sided dominant. I think we saw shades of it in this game because of Calafiori in particular.
God, he's the weirdest player. Like, Mike, can we do Calafiori now, or do you have another?
No, go for it. No, I was gonna progress to Zubi, but it's worth having a conversation. We're going to discuss him. We'll package this with the goal, and then we'll just circle back with it. But have your say on Calafiori.
So Calafiori, I love him so much because I literally have no idea what he's going to do. In like an era of like,
he doesn't know what he's going to do.
He is Mike. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He has no clue. He starts vaguely in the left channel. Sometimes he's playing as a center back. Sometimes he's playing as a defensive midfielder. We've joked in the back channel. I think he's probably our most effective left winger right now, as far as like attacking and like attacking with intent. And
Martinelli in the mud.
Well, Martinelli's lived in the mud for the last 3 seasons, so it's fine for him to stay there. Like he's so fun and weird, and there's no analogous player in professional football to him. He's kind of a left back. He's kind of a left winger. He's kind of a number 10. He's kind of a DM. He just floats around everywhere. And whereas like Miles Lewis-Skelly, when he floats, is offering like structure and defensive solidity, and like because he's defensive midfielder by trade, so that's where he's standing. Calafiori has like he might take a shot with his right foot. He's like Nuno Tavares if Nuno Tavares could play football other than push and run. Like We like that about Nuno, but Nuno is a winger with a peanut brain, and Calafiori is like a number 10 with a galaxy brain and a center back's body. He's a really bizarre player that if he can stay fit and we can build appropriate structures around him, will be this incredibly weird wild card that will score goals and cause all this chaos and do all this shit. And the big thing is like insulating yourself from him being caught too far up. And I think this has been observed on other podcasts too, but like, I think more the issue, like Calafiori, I like a lot with Timber there at right back, because Timber's not going to push up too far. Timber's going to have all sorts of defensive responsibility. He's going to be able to tuck in and defend any player in the world. Timber can defend on an island, whether it's a big center back or on a corner kick, or whether it's a center forward who's going to crash into him, whether it's a speedy winger, left foot, right foot, he's good. And then affords Calafiori the opportunity to go and kind of wander around and do whatever he wants, because you have effectively 3 elite world-class center backs behind you as the 3 defenders, right? With Ben White, who is I think not on the downside, but I think he's definitely off of it. He's going to be doing more overlapping and trying to be getting in the attack like as more of a winger and more of like kind of a foil for Saka more. There were too many times in this match where they were both caught, where Calafiori was wandering up and Ben White was still up from doing an overlap. And because Saka had a fucking horrible game and was really far off it, he and White got caught up the pitch a ton. And so a lot of times it was like just our 2 center backs running back, and like hilariously Odegaard like busting his ass and doing like 70-yard recovery runs to get back. So I think that balance wasn't right, but like what like a wonder. I think I sent in our back channel, it's like what a wonderfully weird player he is. He's so weird. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. He pops up here, he pops up there, he does all this sorts of interesting shit. And he's got to be a nightmare to go and, because you can't game plan against him because there's no pattern to what he does. He just does different shit all the time. He has such a high technical and physical level that you can't really do a whole lot about it. You just kind of hope he fucks it up. And like, he didn't, I mean, defensively, he wasn't like super on, but like offensively, you see that, I mean, 6'2", 190 galloping at you and you have no idea what he's going to do. I mean, that's something we don't, for a highly system and pattern oriented team that's pretty conservative, having this like one guy who you have literally no idea what he's going to do in any position. And like we saw that goal, did he pop us like a center forward run last year when he was a center, like he's playing left center back?
Yeah.
Like you have no fucking clue what he's going to do, provided everybody else is kind of like, okay, like we got you, like go do your thing, buddy. Like
I'm kind of surprised.
Fitness, like
I'm surprised that Mikel Arteta allows it. Can I just point that out? Just for a manager that seems to micromanage every movement. Calafiori seems to have like his trust, if you will, Kelly.
I think
he's fairly free.
Yeah.
I think that's the evolution of Arteta, though. I mean, he got rid of all the Mavericks when he came in. Think about Pepe. Now, Pepe had his own warts and foibles and weaknesses and vulnerabilities and things that didn't make him a good fit at Arsenal, but he was the Maverick, right?
Yeah.
And I think what he did was he said, I'm getting rid of all the Mavericks. And then I think he overcorrected, and to the point where like he said, boy, I need a Maverick. And I think what's a little bit genius about having a Maverick at left back is that it's a lot harder to game plan for, as you said, Kelly, because no one's used to seeing a Maverick come from left back. You're used to seeing a Maverick on the wings. You know, you've got lots of Mavericks at the winger position. You got maybe even a Maverick at center forward sometimes, maybe even attacking midfield. You never see a Maverick in fullback. I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold, for as creative and amazing as he is with the ball at his feet, I wouldn't call him a Maverick. I mean, what he did was he's a
traditional winger that was playing right back. He's a traditional like Beckham crossing winger that played right back in the modern game.
But
I'm trying to keep my memory in check and trying to think am I overrating Danny Alves, or was Danny Alves as good as I remember him being? I felt like he was like,
very good.
He was one of those players, and he did it on both fullback positions too. But he was oftentimes played on teams where he didn't defend at all, and so he was able to be like, again, I think a lot of times when your Maverick players are either your like Wilf Zaha like solo dribbler guys that just kind of like play on an island and just play for themselves all the time, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, or you have guys that have like a traditional skill set, which I think Trent is basically David Beckham, but he plays at right back in the modern game, which is really weird. And creates this very interesting dynamic and is incredibly dangerous because fullbacks have time to cross the ball when usually your best crossers don't have that kind of time. He might be the best striker of the ball to create like the best crosser of the ball and the best whipper of the ball in the world. And usually that player would be a traditional wide forward, like a 10 or something like that. That's the big thing. But like, I think also like Calafiori has like, and people, this is like what drives people like Lee Gunner insane, because he's a meth mouth douchebag. And if his fans are in the comments, like, run it back to him and he can go and word vomit as he evades UK law enforcement whatever beach he's laying on. Like, the big thing about him is that there's something weird about him that makes that it's really magnetic. And it's not just what he looks like, it's how he plays. And like this whole kind of like aura is overused, but there's something about that guy that draws your attention, and kind of you have to have something like that to afford you to try the shit and have it not go right. And there's something about his like unbelievable self-confidence that, like, again, we were all together watching the match against City where he just fucking cracked one.
Nobody would have thought he was going to have a shot.
Nobody in the world thought this guy in his first match was going to have this go from 20 yards out, and he curls this absolute worldly screamer in. But that's what you need. And again, Arteta knows that, and I think if I was able to do a bold prediction, like if he can stay fit like 75% of the season, he might be a guy who you think back and there's like 6 or 7 goals that define your season. He might be involved in 3 or 4 of them. Like, he's one of those players that, like, he's either scoring or assisting or going on this fucking ridiculous mazy run for no reason at all. And all of a sudden it's unsettled everything and interrupted the patterns. And all of a sudden now there's space and now there's time. And frankly, like, he's one of the few players that I count on to like make the right incisive pass, because he just has an instinct for doing so. Positions be damned. And that's what makes him special. And I think probably part of selling the project to him, and not him just like going and being a traditional left-sided center half for like Juve, which is like the road often traveled by like elite young Italian players, was like there's a way that you can do something somewhere that not a lot of people with your setup have done in a way that nobody else has ever done. And that's what we envision for you. And that's a pretty compelling argument. And something to remember too, he was the youngest starter, I think, besides Euro, for either team. Like, he's like 22 years old. So even though he looks like a 28-year-old man,
easy to forget it.
Yeah, it's really easy to forget that he's one of the youngest players. He's the youngest non-academy player in our setup. And especially for a defender, he's really, really young for an interior defender by trade. So like, there's other than sprint speed, he has every piece of raw physical material you can imagine, with good technical level and all the intangibles that you can fucking cram into your intangible hole. Like, that's my thing.
And it's enabled by the fact that we have such a good defense behind him, so that when he vacates that spot, you've got maybe the best left-sided center back in the world in Gabriel. You've got Declan Rice, who's been playing deeper this season than he has in previous seasons. So he's basically inhabiting the spot that Calafiori vacates. And then also when Martinelli plays, you got one of the best backtracking left wingers in the world as well. So I think
as gag-inducing as it is, Martinelli's one of the best defensive wide forwards in the world. Yes. It makes me vomit to think about it, but like, that's 100%.
So true.
He runs so hard. He tries so hard.
He does try hard.
Calafiori's goal. It wasn't a masterclass, right? The ball, I think the ball was going in, but hey, he headed it just to make sure. I was surprised that it wasn't chalked off, because there was a lot of contact with Saliba. But I'm gonna do the unthinkable here, boys. Now hear me out.
Oh God.
I think the ref showed critical thinking and saw the 3 Manchester United players fucking bear hugging Zubimendi, Gabriel, and there was another one, Ben White, I think.
And Shaw basically pulled Gabriel's shirt off.
I literally think he was like, nah, just let it count. I dare say he used his critical thinking and said, there's no fucking way I could rule this off and VAR not overturn this, when like literally Cunha was doing this with 2 hands, and like the still frames it's an amazing still frame because if you just look at the picture, there's fucking chaos everywhere. Like everybody has hands on everybody.
You guys posted it in the back channel. I thought it was from one of your WWE like SummerSlam events or something. Like, what the hell is this? Oh, but it's Arsenal and Manchester United players. Like, it was like a bunch of rugby tackles in the penalty box. I mean, insane.
I love Cunha, by the way. It makes me very sad that he plays for them because he is, speaking of Mavericks and weirdos,
he's that guy's a player for sure.
Fucking maniac. I love that guy. He's so weird and stupid and out of control. He's so much fun to watch, and I hate that he plays there.
Mike, I disagree with you, actually. I don't know that's... if someone does that to Raya, I'm like, Raya, you got to be better.
They did do that to Raya, and Raya's really good, and their goalkeeper fucking
Raya
sucked.
managed to punch the ball away.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You got a clean punch on it because he's not a fucking bum like whoever their third string keeper is that they're playing.
I think that goalkeeper has to be a lot stronger there. And I know we've heard that thrown in our faces where, you know, our goalkeepers of the past and Ramsdale and Leno have had their arms pinned behind their back, have been bear hugged from behind. I don't think what Saliba did was nearly anything close to some of the things that we've been told we need to be stronger on. So if they want to give it out and they want to laugh at us, well, then they can get a little bit of it back too, because even when you still frame that play, they are still more in the wrong than we were in that play, and the goal stood, and rightfully so. So I agree, Mike. I think Simon Riley, I'm going to call him. I know his name's Simon Hooper, but Simon Riley, for all the shit stuff he did on the pitch that day, shit calls he had, that was one where I'm glad he swallowed his whistle.
Mostly, and I don't think it's 100% because he was captured by the week 1 Old Trafford crowd. Mostly it was kind of like, you know, Robert Jones, the guy with the crew cut, the big bulky guy. It was a very Robert Jones match where there was a lot of physicality that was allowed both ways with intermittent, like soft whistles that make you frustrated. But that match, if the ref was blotched out the entire time, I would have thought it was a Robert Jones match with how it was officiated. So it was largely officiated like overly loose, right? And I think it was a lot of home crowd capture, and like it looked like the Manchester United crowd was fucking up for it to their credit. Like in between the rats and the leaky roof and the overflowing toilets, I guess they were able to get up for this match. But like, I mean, I would rather have it be that way than not. And like you said, like I expect Raya, even if somebody's pushing on him, to go get the ball, and he did beautifully. In the time where they try to do an in-swinger and we couldn't keep somebody off of him, he fucking made a great punch and stayed active. And they have chosen poorly with goalkeepers. Their goalkeepers fucking stink. And Saliba was trying to pick him off and was I'm sure it was De Ligt because De Ligt thought he was playing NFL this match, was driving him backwards too. And it's like, they're just not going to rule out a goal in opening weekend when it's been kind of a bloodbath. Like they're not even Simon Hooper isn't going to blow that dead. And like, no matter how much Bruno Fernandez's rat face fucking gnaws on the pitch and begs for that to be called, it's just not going to be called. It shouldn't be called, and it should never be ruled out because, again, they tried to karate kick Raya into his own goal, but he's good, and Banadir, whoever the fuck that guy is terrible. So like, he got bitched back into his own goal, and Calafiori tapped in maybe the highest XG chance of any club of the year because the ball was 2/3 of the way over the line when he stuck his fat head in there, and so it must have been about a 0.95 XG on that. But whatever,
at the very least, yeah.
Seriously, like I couldn't have. If I was there for the ball to hit me in the head, it would have gone in. I don't think I could have fucked that up. I think
Richarlison could, though. I promise you, Richarlison would have.
He scored. You were talking about the league leader in goals scored, sir. Until his brain breaks again for the 500th time, and then
all the tattoo ink that he's absorbed into his body goes to his brain, crosses the blood-brain barrier.
Oh God, that is the dumbest motherfucker on earth. So. Hopefully horrible things happen for him.
Just before we move on from the game, Zubimendi, I want to bring him up before we ream Richarlison way too much here. I kind of laughed because I thought about some of the first and foremost the elbow that he caught, I think in Bueno, and then he got like 2 or 3 fouls called on him back to back, and I kind of laughed and I said, okay, first I thought to myself, he's going to be okay, because the one thing that you kind of always kind of wonder is, how is a player going to handle the physicality of the league? And you don't get that feeling with Gyökeres too much, because he's a fucking monster, right? Zubimendi, I think I Google searched it. He's 6'1". He seems like a very small 6'1", if that makes any sense. Like, he doesn't seem that robust to me, if you will. However, he fit within the league fairly physically well, in my opinion. He had a ton of intersections, and overall, I'm going to say a quiet game, but a good game. I guess that's the type of position he plays. He's not going to be the guy that does like the super flashy things. Like, Odegaard is a little bit more on display. We saw that with a beautiful pass early on in the game for Saka, if I'm not mistaken, and we saw it. So he had flares, but Zubimendi's game isn't really that. It's just to help transition. As I said this, he's the pass before the pre-pass. Is how I like to analyze Zubimendi. And overall, I thought he was a successful debut. Chris, how are you looking at our new Spanish midfielder?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was even more impressed with him in more of a defensive role. I mean, I think he did some good things in the offensive end too, but he wasn't the guy that was necessarily unlocking the pass or pinging the pass 40 yards cross field. He wasn't, breaking a press, with a clever dribble or a clever shoulder fake or something like that. He was more the guy that was snapping into challenges, winning duels, which is, I don't think, something I expected when we first brought him in. I mean, you see him, he's kind of an undersized guy. He looks like a typical Spanish midfielder, probably is not going to be all that physical, not going to be all that great defensively. He's probably going to get overrun in the Premier League, but I've been really impressed with him in the duel. I think he's quite aggressive. I don't think he gets overawed in duels with guys that are bigger than him. And I think in this game in particular, I think just like in Odegaard, where Odegaard did a lot of the work that he's not used to doing, a lot of the grunt work, a lot of the physical work, a lot of the defensive work. I think about, when I think of Zubimendi, I think of him as like the metronome, as the pace setter, as the guy with the ball at his feet, spraying passes this way, that way, and the other way, setting the tempo for the attack. In this game, I think it was less that. I think it was more doing a really good defensive job, shielding the back four, playing in front of that zone 14, where we really need defensive presence against a team like United, where a lot of the opportunities they got were in transition. So yeah, I mean, very solid. I'm eager to see him play in a game, and we'll talk about what happened tactically, I think, in this game, but I'm eager to see him in a game where we've got a lot more of the ball, because I did not expect United to have whatever it was, 65% of the ball in this game. I expected us to probably have more like 60% of the ball, and we didn't. So when he doesn't have the ball, I think it's less obvious what he does, but what he did do, I think, was really important.
Christian, I trust him. That's the best that I can articulate that, because I was thinking about that too when he's out there. Like, based on what we saw of him at club and country level, I guess, until more recently with Spain, is that he was going to be too lightweight. And like Hers said, it's like, if he's 6'1", he's a soft looking 6'1". Like, he's not a Ben White 6'1". Like,
is that what he's listed as?
I think he might be being a little hyperbolic, but I think he's bigger than, he's 6 feet, I think.
I was thinking like 5'9" tops.
Got him like 5'11".
Just 5'11".
Which is like bigger than a lot of football players and a lot of like
surprising.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Every inch counts, boys.
Yeah. Don't I know it? But it truly is one of those things where I trust him on the pitch. I trust that he's going to make good decisions. I trust that he's going to do well in duels. And I think that's maybe the advantage of like getting an adult, and like at no point during this whole thing that he's been here has he been overawed by the moment or the team. And I think like, here's something that I will say for people that deliberately join Arsenal. They generally are at a spot where they're making an informed decision. I think most of the players that Arsenal will sign are players that we're good enough now and have enough money and have enough prestige and accomplishment that they are players that have options. And they choose Arsenal not always because the automatic trophies that come with City, or the better chance at trophies like at Liverpool. I do think that there are people, or even like money that would come with like Newcastle or somebody like that. I think we're really in a situation where we do a better job than most of cultivating relationships and finding good cultural fits. And he's a player that I trust him. I trust him as an Arsenal player. I believe him as an Arsenal player right away. And I'm fine with dropping him into any situation. And even if he's a little bit overmatched physically or inexperienced technically and has never played at Old Trafford before, like, I trust him to be a serviceable player. Like, there's no situation like that he's like remember when Albert Samuel Congo would just get run through like he was tissue paper. And like the second you saw him, he was like shaking like a fucking leaf in every situation. It's like, I don't trust this person at all. You get none of that from Zubimendi. He's 25 years old. He's mid-prime. He's an experienced player. He took an extra year at Sociedad before he came here. He had options to go to, I mean, certainly Liverpool, but allegedly City as well, and Chelsea and other players too. And he decided to come here. And the best I can say is I trust him. And again, going to Gyökeres, even though he didn't have a great match, like, I trust him also. And maybe that's wishful thinking, but like, I trust those professional adults to come in here and do the best they can, even if the match doesn't suit them exactly. And even if they're inexperienced and are kind of dropped in the deep end, I trust that they will do a serviceable job and do the right things to the best of their ability in this moment and not be floored.
They just haven't been here long enough to let you down, Kelly. That's all.
No, I mean, it'll get there. Everybody lets me down eventually. No, I guess that's the biggest loop that I got on with Zubimendi. It's like, he didn't have a great match, but like, why did it not bother me? It's because I trust him. And then maybe that's stupid, and maybe that's like really squishy and touchy-feely, but I trust that he knows what he's doing. He'll be good. And he's going to do well in every match. And even if it's not a Zubimendi match, he'll do the best Zubimendiing that he can do in a non-Zubimendi match.
Yeah. Last but not least, I want to mention Madueke. He played a little bit less. He looked lively. I know that we spoke about Mavericks earlier in the podcast, and I think he has a touch of the Mavericks. You mentioned Pepe, Kelly, and look, depending on your view of Pepe, you might think this is an insult, or you might think this is a positive note, but I like the unpredictability of the player. He seems like he likes to take on people. He seems really exciting. I was so bummed out that brilliant play that Saka developed on the left, the cross towards the end of the game. Somebody, I forgot, might have Delegate might have
Delict had like a heroic intervention to stop that.
But I was like, everything was set up, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's going to happen. And I was kind of confused there for a split second when I saw Saka on the left. By the way, I'm like, is this the first time since he played left wing back that he's been on over there? It was confusing, but he's a player that excites me. And I know we're not going to rehatch for the sake of time and the sanity of Davido, and I mean, quite frankly, my sanity. We're not going to rehash the conversation of Martinelli too much right now. We're going to talk about transfers and keep the criticism within our squad to a limited, boys, please. But I'm generally curious that he has played at the left a lot of times. I'm curious if the left winger that everybody wants is already at the club. It's just throwing that out there. So see how everything plays out. But boys, anything else that you guys want to add to this game in particular, or can we kind of move on to the transfer gossip that kind of erupted today, if you will?
I want to talk about two things. One is everybody, I think, if you're on X, has seen the compilation of our like 8 counterattacks that didn't go anywhere. And I felt it watching the game that we got into plenty of positions that we could have hurt United and converted one of those, I think, actually quite good transition moments. Like, I think we created the moments really well. I think we got the ball out of danger, and then we got it to the right person, and often that was Odegaard, to either dribble up the pitch or to get it to the wing. Inevitably, with this group of players, and maybe it's just that playing with a center forward like Gyökeres and just learning to play faster, that this will come off more consistently. And this is, I think, something really to watch this season. But I think two things were happening, and I think online what you see a lot of people doing is blaming Odegaard, and certainly he has, a few of those moments to blame, but I think more so if you watch those transition moments, that it's the runners ahead of him that don't do him any service. I could not tell you how many times I screamed at the TV, and I was watching it at a bar in my local town with a bunch of Arsenal fans. I could not tell you how many times I screamed at the bar, why are you running in straight lines within like 15 yards width from each other? They were all running down basically the middle channel of the pitch, and it gave Odegaard no width. It allowed United to defend with two defenders to defend three players, or three defenders to defend four players. We never got the advantage of the quantitative advantage that we had. We never saw the benefit of that because we were too easy to defend. Our runs were straight. They were unimaginative. They didn't create space for anybody, and it gave Odegaard no outlet. And so what happened was, one of the instances, Odegaard kept dribbling because there was no pass to make. He tries dribbling around a guy and he gets nicked off of him. The other time, Martinelli makes a super central run. He's cutting basically right in front of where Odegaard's running, and Odegaard has no other choice but to release the ball, and it goes spraying past him over the touchline. It's that kind of stuff that I think really needs to be worked on in the training ground, that I think ruined a lot of the chances that I think we did really good at creating. So that's something that we need to get better at if we want to play this style of play, because otherwise, and this is my fear, we broke down in last year, and I think it was a cumulative effect of playing a lot of games, especially in that 22-23 season, or whatever that season was, where we won it. We almost won it, and we didn't expect us to. Mm-hmm. Where we did a lot of repeat sprints, and this kind of play requires a lot of repeat sprints from like your front five. But if you're going to keep doing that and not scoring goals, you're taking out a lot of risk with no reward. You're putting yourself in danger of tearing a hamstring, or injuring a quad, or getting Achilles tendonitis, or whatever it is, from those repeat sprints. Because eventually, if you score a couple of those, you don't keep doing that. You slow the game down. You play like we played last season. You stink out the game when you're up 2-0, and you save your legs for the next week. And unfortunately, we didn't do that. And so we had to keep doing those repeat sprints and keep doing those repeat sprints. And you do that often enough, and you're going to start seeing injuries crop up. And while we have the squad, I think, to manage that in some areas of the pitch, I still think we are, and we'll talk about this in a moment with our transfers, I think our attack still looks pretty light, if I'm being honest. And we're only a couple of injuries away from, starting to squint at the squad and saying, boy, we really need to reinforce them in January. The other side I want to talk about really quickly was just how United played through us. And we talked about how weak their midfield is. I mean, you look at a midfield of Casemiro, Fernandez, and then who is the other one that was playing? I guess they played a 3-4-3, so there's only two midfielders with three in the front and whatever. You look at that tissue paper midfield, to use your term, Kelly, and I think we all licked our lips and said, boy, we're going to play right through their midfield, right? They're going to try and come through us, so we're going to turn them over, and we're going to ram it right down their throat. Well, what did they do? They played over us a lot of the time, right? They played the long ball to Mbumo, who is a pretty good hold-up player, very physical. They just bypassed our midfield. They knew they were weak. They knew they couldn't beat us by trying to play out from the back. And here's another thing. I wonder if this 8-second rule from a goalkeeper perspective is going to make people play long more often, because 8 seconds is not time to get your team into their shape to play out from the back very easily.
That's a good point.
And I wonder if we're going to see a lot more long balls over the top and just trying to win second balls. And I think that's what they did really well, is they set up to play the game, the first ball long, and then to have their midfielders plan on anticipating that ball so that when the second ball came, they could retrieve it and then either attack or set up in their shape and attack us from there. So I thought it was a really good game plan from Amarin in terms of knowing where his weaknesses were and avoiding situations where we could take advantage of maybe where we're really strong, which I think is in midfield.
Yep. They basically set up, I'm looking at just the lineups now. With Cunha, they plan to carry through Saka and Odegaard on our right, and through Mbuemo's hold-up, they wanted to go behind Declan Rice and in front of Calafiori or behind Calafiori. But here's what happens. If you do that, what do you do now? They were basically ostensibly playing, alternating off Matthias Cunha and Mason Mount as center forward. Here, again, this is more kind of esoteric analysis, but like the patterns that got them, the player personnel that they had on, the patterns that they used that got them into good positions also prevented them from doing anything with them, those positions. And that's why we had a bunch of pot shots and no clear-cut chances because, okay, great, like you've set all this shit up to be able to get the ball, but you want Mbuemo on the end of things, not holding it up and waiting for Gabriel to go and get over there. And again, like Calafiori has a couple pullbacks before he gets sent off, so he's like, will wander. And on the other side too, like Ben White was getting too high, but like, okay, but once Cunha dribbles past a out-of-shape Saka and Odegaard, who's fucking sprinting 70 yards back after like trying to pass the ball to himself in the final third, and Ben White's la-di-daing there, it's like, okay, you got Saliba behind you now, and Zubimendi's cleared back in. So like, they did a really good job of, I think they were very, very fixated on getting the ball into the final third, and they had more final third entries and more dribbles in there, but like, ultimately, like they're not Lamine Yamal, and like they're not elite players, so like they can't do anything from those positions anyway besides take a whack from 30 yards out, and that's why save a couple good chances, which Raya was very well up to because he was engaged and on his best in this match. Like okay, cool, like your job, like you set up an entire team to bypass our central midfield and get in the final third, but there's nobody to fucking kick the ball in the net. So what do you do now? Like that's also, I think that their management team did a good job of identifying our weaknesses of how to stop them from getting there, but they had no idea what to do, and they didn't have the personnel to do anything once they got there because everything was set up to not to score goals, but was to like vaguely prevent us from getting goals and to eliminate our midfield and not let Odegaard, Zubimendi, and Rice set the tempo. And they did that, but basically they were shitting out a game, kind of. And like, I'm sorry, like Arsenal is not the best team to try to like out shit a game with. Like what you want to do with Arsenal is you want to hit them direct in between the center backs and have a lot of people in the box and like put us on our heels. Like you don't want to try to like, we will stink out the fucking match with the best of them, which we proved in this match where it's like, once we score the goals, fuck you. Like we're good. Like we'll just go and like sit in our shell. Mm-hmm. And once we figure out this is not a match for us, like, okay, cool, try to score on us. We have like literally one of the best back four and goalkeeper combinations in the world, if not the best at defending.
Yep.
And then we rotated in fresh people who were even better defenders than the ones that they replaced. So like when you actually look at it, I think Amorim has chunked out how to eliminate and affect it like a team that has better talent and a better midfield than them, but they don't really have anything else because Casemiro can't run, Bruno Fernandes can't think, and Cunha is going to try to dribble through, and Mbuemo's trying to carry it through. And like, okay, great. Now you got Mason Mount at center forward. Like Mason Mount might not score a goal at center forward for fucking like in the championship. So like now what? You've done a great job progressing the ball, but because you set everything up to progress, like what the fuck are you going to do now? And the answer was like kind of nothing.
Stand up, tackle Saka, and that's about it.
Yeah, and again, to their fairness too, like if Saka and Gyökeres are in like better, like are fitter, and Saka doesn't look like he's like towing a fucking ox cart behind him, they're probably getting whacked. And like one of those players is gonna like. There was a time where Saka like couldn't beat Mason Mount on the right hash and just got it like his pocket picked. Like, is that shit gonna happen in a month? Like, no. Like he's gonna go right through him and get a really, really nice shot on goal from inside the 18. So I don't know. I think it. At first, I was like looking at the numbers and looking at how this match played out, and was like, shit, man. Like this is like the one time we would win in the four. Like it's like 1-4 match win. It's like, but really though. Like if this was like a couple weeks later, this is like the 1 out of 5 where they don't get their ass paddled in this setup. This is like more of a function of where we were at and process and kind of where I think we were kind of like, okay, we're going to win this match, and we're looking at winning the second match against Leeds before we go to Anfield, and we were looking forward half fit, and we still scored and just like held them at arm's length with the fucking little kids, like doing this fucking thing.
We're going to leave it with 2 quotes. Steve-O pointed out that Amarin says, "We proved that we could beat any team." That was from Amarin.
That's exactly. He did say that.
Yes, he did say that. And then before we move on from the game into the transfer news, I'm going to just post this as one of my favorite quotes every time people are upset. And this is from Stefano Pioli. "The winners celebrate, the losers explain."
Yeah, there you go.
It's pretty simple. So
hard to argue that,
man. There's no need for a whole lot more. But transfer news, boys. Let's round off this podcast before I die of heat exhaustion, quite frankly, because this room I'm in is very flippin' hot. I am sweating like a pig, and I'm not a happy camper right now. So
they don't have air conditioning in California, Mikey?
They're not in this particular room, no, Kelly.
Oh my God, help you!
In that room out there, there's air conditioning, but like right here,
you need to put your kids in there, and you go podcast out in the.
Now you're thinking, Chris. Now you're thinking.
Jeez, be a good father.
All right, so first and foremost, I never liked Eze. Overrated player. Overrated player.
He's not Arsenal. He's going to Spurs.
Super old.
Old.
Past it.
27. I mean,
might as well be dead.
What do you got? I think a lot of the anger of missing out on Eze. Okay, first and foremost, what I'm seeing on my timeline, Eddie, is an incredible amount of misplaced anger. It's Madueka's fault. It's Trossard's extension fault. It's Martinelli's fault. It's Betla's fault because he can't sell players. Literally every single credible reporter has reported that it was completely and 100% linked to the contract talks in which Arsenal were having with Ethan Nwaneri. Ethan Nwaneri's contract gets sorted out. He extends for whatever period of time. And essentially the actual interest in the player goes away. Mm-hmm. Explaining to us by some, again, critical thinking that I like to point out, that he was never viewed as a left winger. Never once. He was always viewed as an attacking midfielder. So, Chris, let me tell you something, man. And this isn't new. I brought this up. But don't you miss the good old days where you didn't fucking know about news? like literally, if this was not like reported, sure, he would have ended up going to Spurs, but we never would have known that there was any interest whatsoever, and we would have been like, dumbass Arsenal let a good player go away. I literally think that the over-reporting, similar to the left wing that we're going to discuss, is kind of like a thief of joy during transfer windows. I mean, I'm notorious for saying I don't like it, and I'm notorious for taking piss out of the ITKs that exist within the platform. But my goodness, Chris, I don't know. Like, there's two. If you're gonna do this thing in which you're like play the kids, academy players. Oh my God, Mikel Arteta hates the youth. Play Dalman. Like I saw people upset that Dalman didn't play. Well, fucko, he's an attacking midfielder. What minutes was Eze going to come through and get if it wasn't Ethan Nwaneri and Dalman? So I feel like you kind of need to figure out what is it that you like. As you know, guys, I'm of the school of thought in which, like, I think we should have better quality players than invest in youth. And youth should be a third option, not a second option for us if we're challenging for a title. That's my personal view for like a big club like the Arsenal. But, you know, I saw comments and I read this. I was in the live chat at Highbury, Scott, and somebody made the mention saying if after Arteta didn't play Ethan and left Dalman on off the bench versus United, it shows that he doesn't trust them. This was not the fucking game to play these players, boys. So talk to me about overrated, past it, wobbly knees, Eze, and your disappointment, Chris. This is what we're going to do. This is our life now, boys. This is what we do. This is what we do, okay?
Very, very cope.
He's a very un-Spurs player in that, he was from Arsenal's academy. He was in their academy for a while.
Yeah.
And I believe we let him go at an early teenage year, something around that time, 13, 14 maybe. He's creative. He's likable. He doesn't have that Spurs face that you just want to punch.
Yeah.
Which a lot of them have, unfortunately. He seems to be a really good character. I mean, you hear him talk, you hear people talk. He's like the version of Timber, but for Palace, I think, in terms of his character. He's that kind of person in the dressing room. And so you look at that and you go, how am I supposed to hate that? But I think if you're an Arsenal fan, the minute someone puts on a Spurs shirt, you have to find a reason. If for no other reason than the fact that he just wears the Spurs uniform, and that's good enough for me, to be honest.
Seriously.
Would I have liked to have seen him? Yes, because I think he's another Maverick. I think he's another guy like Calafiori, but from a more advanced position that, has always kind of broke the mold, who always kind of plays kind of a free role, plays with a freedom in terms of his style, makes good decisions, is both creative and also has end product. I think he has a lot of attributes that I think our squad still needs. Could he work on the left wing? Yes. But what I think is so odd about this window is that, and I said it in our transfer pod, I thought left wing was our top priority.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought Kai Havertz was good enough at center forward, and that in the modern game, your wingers or your wing forwards, however you want to describe them, are the players that tend to produce more of the goals in most setups than the center forwards. You look at City's setup before Haaland came, it was exactly what that was. Liverpool has been like that ad nauseum. We'll see how that goes this season with whoever plays center forward, whether that's like Ekitike or they bring in Isak to play the 9. But Salah, Mane have been their goal scorers. Firmino back in the day was their guy who made space, right? Like all the top teams tend to score from wide areas. And so I was always comfortable with Kai Havertz playing the 9 with, maybe the dead body of Jesus gets resurrected for 14 games this year if we can't sell him and he plays some meaningful minutes, or maybe you get a Marino up top to play every once in a while to spell Kai. Or maybe we get a cheaper developmental center forward, whatever. I always thought left wing was the upgrade. I think it's so weird that the people that we went for, and I don't know how serious the Rodrigo interest was. I mean, it was reported that Arteta was interested in him, and he is a pure left winger. But we ended up buying Madueke, who is not a left winger. He is a right winger, who played 7 games at the end of his Chelsea spell at left wing, never scored a goal. Not saying he didn't look decent there, but if that was our need and we needed a left winger, why didn't we ever get serious about an actual left winger? We got serious about a right winger turn left winger, and if you believe the reports, we got somewhat serious about Neze, who probably was there to play as a rotational piece in attacking midfield. I don't get the strategy, to be honest. So I think we've got enough in attacking midfield. If for whatever reason not getting Eze allows us to get a left winger this window, which I don't think it does, then great. But if it doesn't, I don't know what we're doing, because I think we are one attacker short. I think we're one creative player short in that front 5. And if we end the season again saying, man, we had all the pieces except for that one attacking piece, that's the piece that was missing, we can all say, well, isn't that what it's like to be an Arsenal fan? Because every season we say that when we get close. We say, boy, if we only had X, if we only had Y. I fear that if we come up short this season, we're all going to say, if only we had that left wing. And instead we decided to buy a repurposed right winger, who is an excellent buy, very high quality if you're looking for a Saka replacement, or not a Saka replacement, but a Saka deputy, right? Somebody who can spell Saka so that he doesn't shred his hamstrings into oblivion. But I'm not yet convinced that in a team that's trying to win everything against Liverpool, City, and the big teams in Europe, that buying Madueke as a left winger gets us over the line with greater certainty than we've had in the previous seasons. I don't know that I buy it.
If we go in to this season without improving that area, and it looks very, very likely now that Trossard has signed his extension now too, and we put him on money that he's not movable now. He's going to be here for the rest of his contract. He has no sell-on value now. He's 30 years old. It sounds like he's pushing. He's going to be on 150K a week or better. You can't sell that player anymore. He's here until he's 33. Very useful utility rotation forward, but he's an Arsenal player. He's not going to retire an Arsenal player, but he's going to play for Arsenal until he goes to MLS or something, or Saudi or something kind of free. So like, if that report is true, I mean, I think we're done probably. It means two things. One, it means that it could mean two things. So like what Abreu said in the comments is Arteta does not think there's a left wing problem, and the combination Martinelli and Trossard do the things that he wants it to do, and he's confident that we can win in spite of that, which I think is probably unlikely. And what's more likely is that the club are fine with being a player short at a key position because the goal is not to win everything. And we've had that conversation like 50 times on this. Like we must have had this conversation on a quarter of our podcasts, of our 200, like 50 of our 200 podcasts.
It's the history of the KSE.
A conservative estimate is one of the first podcasts I was on here was talking about KSE and like how they manage and how they attack things. Like one of the first, which was probably in a single digit podcast, and not an Arsenal podcast was my first podcast with everybody. And like, I think the trade-off is that we've hit our hard cap, and the left wing is too hard and too expensive, and you got to sell to buy, and we can't sell for shit. And my pie in the sky hope at this point, because I do really really think that we need a new left wing, is that there's going to be a random and surprising bid for Martinelli that'll be sufficient for him. But I don't think he wants to leave. I think he has no interest in leaving Arsenal at all. So he's not going to push for a move. It's going to have to be. It can't be. He's been here for his entire adult life. He doesn't need Saudi money. Like he lives with his like nice girlfriend and his nice family, and like he doesn't triple his wage. Like he doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia and make his wife deal with that. He's not going to do that. So that's out. It's not a money grab. He's fine. He's not going to do that. Like, unless a meatball offer comes in that he can be happy personally and professionally, he's not going to leave. And unless he leaves, we're not going to buy another one. So, like, maybe you can get like a punt high buck loan option, but KSC is not going to spend $10 million on a loan with a buy option to like help alleviate Rodrigo's broken hearts in Madrid. Like they're not going to, like somebody will pay a $10 million loan fee for Rodrigo and have a $70 million buy option. Somebody will, like, Newcastle will take that even with like Granny at left wing, who's perfectly good. Like they will, like there are plenty of clubs who will take that because it can help them accomplish more than they thought they could this season. And that's not how KSE rolls. They would rather be a player or two short and not accomplish what they want in exchange for saving an amount of money that they deem significant or reasonable and staying in budget. And so that's what's going to happen again. So we should just get used to Trossard, Madueke, and whoever the best of that ill-fitting lot is will play. That's it.
Interest you in Reece Nelson or Gabriel Jesus?
Sure. I mean, Reece Nelson is going to inevitably go for like a $50 loan fee and a pack of cigs to Fulham again, because he gets hurt every time he sneezes hard. He fucking tears his hamstring. So, like, what are you going to do? Reece Nelson is absolutely a starting level Premier League player on a mid or low table team. He can't stay fit. He never can. He makes $100,000 a week, so we can't do anything with him. Nobody else will buy him. He will only play in London also, which is fucking hilarious too. He won't leave London. He won't live even his $100,000 on the table. And so that means that machine gun loaning him to Fulham every year until he gets hurt inevitably is the only move that we have. And we'll keep doing it until he goes there on a free. And he still will make $100,000 a year because it was on free. So he's doing great. Reece is doing great for Reece. Reece has been a giant fucking gob on the underside of Arsenal for a while, as sweet as a guy as he is, because he cannot generate any money.
He gets away with it because he's an academy player.
Guys,
he's like 25.
Adu put him on $100K per week. He makes more than Trossard did.
It was until about like 6 hours ago. He made more than Trossard. Now Trossard makes 3.5 times as much as him. If it reports that to be
has it been reported how much is Trossard making?
I thought somebody said that he's going to be on like $200,000 a week.
There's no way.
There's no. I refuse to believe the 200 grand thing.
His bonus money should have been making the same amount in his age 30 to 34 season as he had been making, which is like 90K. Like it should have been. We will continue to pay you this amount of money and do it over the course of 3 more years. Not, oh, by the way, you're on like 150 grand weeks. Like, what? You're a utility forward. What?
Here is a question that I think is a valid one, because Mikel Arteta has a way of describing players when he kind of doesn't like them. I think we caught that a lot with like Emil Smith Rowe. He was never really complimentary of him.
Bad day to describe Emil Smith Rowe, by the way, based on some
bad day to describe him. Yes, absolutely. Social media.
Bad day to reference him and his feet.
Yeah. Ryan in the live chat mentions to Chris, or I'm throwing this at Chris for him to discuss. It's simple. Arteta doesn't think we have a left wing problem. Yeah, I mean, we prioritize the right side anyways, and he's referring to attack. We mentioned this a little bit earlier in the us on the podcast, in the live chat. It was mentioned that Martinelli is one of the best defensive left wingers, which is why Kelly and I often joke around and talk about being a left wing back, being successful in Italy.
Yeah, Mike and my for anybody who's like new to the beginning of the season, Mike and my euphemism for like Martinelli stinks is that he would be a great left wing back in Italy. Like that's our euphemism for like go away, you suck. Like that's our backhanded compliment of saying like
we're speaking it into
reality. Gold, get the fuck out type of thing.
Out you go. Milan needs a left back for fuck's sake.
Yep.
Now, Chris, do you think there's anything to it? Because like, look, we saw the documentary, and sure, this was a few years ago, and we were like, hey man, there's few people that they spoke higher than Nelly in that documentary. Yeah. When you ask, and I said this a few podcasts ago, and I said, hey man, we kind of have to accept that there's a way that we view footballers and there's a way that the manager views footballers, and he must be doing something in order to remain in the good grace of the manager, because like we've seen it, Chris. Like there's a long list of players in which they don't play well, they don't train well, whatever the fuck it is, and Mikel Arteta is like, well, fuck it, I guess I'm never gonna see you again in the starting lineup. but like Martinelli persists, dude. Like he persists.
Yeah.
He's on it. So I don't know if the needs in which Mikel Arteta wanted were accomplished this transfer window, but is there any glimpse of you thinking Arteta's satisfied without bringing in a left-sided attacking player, Chris?
What I think he likes about Martinelli is what I think is hard for fans to get behind when that player is an attacking player and he doesn't score much and he doesn't make good decisions in the final third, and that is his work rate. And I think with a guy like Arteta, you will always get some time with him if you're willing to work hard. And I think if there's anything he does at an elite level, he does that, because we just talked about how he's one of the best defensive left wingers in the world. And I think while we joke about that, I think there's a lot of truth in terms of his value to Arteta in playing that way. Because as we know, Arteta values defensive solidity, I guess is the way to say it. And while that might not be what gets us really excited, I think that's what makes Arteta think that that's what's going to make us a winner. That has to be a non-negotiable, that has to be a part of every team that he puts out there, that we need to be defensively solid. That's the foundation you build from. And so while he does that at a really high level, I think unless we get a good bid for him, I think he's happy to have him stay. He seems happy, as you guys said. I mean, he's turned into a model now. He's got Prada boots. So him and Calafiore can hang out and bondle all they want. Do I think Arteta wanted a left winger? There were so many reports that talked about Arteta fawning over Rodrigo this summer. It happened earlier on in the window. And it seemed to come from multiple sources. So I have to think that there's some truth behind it. And if there is some truth behind it, there must have been a plan. I mean, Nico Williams is another one, right? That everybody reported that Arteta really wanted at the club. I think there was a plan for a left winger. I think when we lost out on our on the two that we wanted, I mean, another one was what's his face at Barcelona, who we tried to get when he went from Leeds.
Rafinha.
Rafinha, yes. I mean, that's another player that Arteta reportedly wanted that he didn't get. Obviously, he was going to play left wing, right? Because Saka is at right wing. He's not moving. So I think he wants a left winger. The problem is, I think there are always priorities that come either ahead or they're cheaper to fulfill. And if we only had 200 million to spend and we can't sell, spending 80, 90, 100 million on a left winger perhaps was not the call for them to make, that they decided they were going to fill in the other 5-6 holes that we had in the squad that they deemed important. Again, not necessarily what I would do, but that's the decision the club went with. And as long as we have an ownership group that wants to be self-sustaining, and as long as we have a club who refuses to sell well, it feels to me like this is what we're always going to be up against. We're always going to be facing a window where we feel like we've got X number of spots we need to fill, and we're always going to fill X-1 or X-2.
Yep.
And that's the problem, I think, of being an Arsenal fan. It is the modern day experience of being an Arsenal fan where you say at the end of every season that you don't want anything, boy, if we only had X. And it feels a lot like being a Cubs fan, to be honest.
Oh, cry me a fucking river, by the way, Chicago people. When was the last time the Cubs won the World Series, Christian?
2016, but before that,
oh, wow.
It was 100 and some years before that. So
ask me when the last time a Minnesota sports team won.
1992.
1991, in fact.
Sorry.
You guys have a sport team?
Yeah, no shit. Coast. Mikey from the coast.
From the coast, yes.
No, I think, but before, and I'll be really, really brief, Mikey. I promise. Go. Like even for me, I'll be brief. I think once every 5 years,
what that means.
I know shit. You've known me for a long time now. Once every like 4 or 5 years, there's an outlier result that kind of defies logic because everything goes a certain way. Like Leicester were one of those results. Or one of those titles. I think even maybe like the last Manchester United championship too, with that's how we're gonna win. Like I'm to the point now where it's gonna be if we want to win a Champions League, like when Liverpool won their kind of out of sequence Champions League like 15 years ago.
Oh, and yeah.
Right, like that's how we're gonna win the Champions League or Premier League. We're gonna have to be there or thereabouts, and it's gonna be like a one-off. We're going to have a shot once or twice a decade, and one of them has to hit. And that's it. Because we're not going to have the highest payroll. We're not going to have the most talent. We're not going to have the best players. We're not going to have the easiest run of it. It's going to have to be the outlier, the 1 or 2 outliers that happen in the Champions League and the Premier League every decade. We have to be one of those, and that's our only chance. Because our ownership are never going to put us in a position to be the guys holding the cards for 3 or 4 seasons in a row to ensure that one of those 3 or 4 seasons we win because we had the best team and the most investment and the best of everything. It's going to be the holy shit, everything did really go right and they really won at that time. That's Arsenal. That's how Arsenal wins. And I think and here's furthermore, the most depressing part about that is I think that is deliberate because that over time, over the short, medium, and long term will save. We have the most dollar for dollar return on their investment is to be there or thereabouts for long enough that things just happen to fall our way to win one of those 2 big things over the course of about a decade.
Sad but true.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Kelly. I don't know. I'm just the live chat has took a turn for the best in my opinion. But Steve-O dropped an emoji of a snake. And people are now guessing who the snake is. And of course, I asked, "Are you talking about Aaron Ramsey?" And and they're
I'm sure John loved that.
I mean, they're bringing back some old school names, dude. Robin, they're bringing back Seth Fabregas, they're bringing back Nasri. I mean, yeah,
snakes in the garden, buddy.
A lot of snakes in that garden, man. I have to ask this because, like, I know that Kelly. I can't remember exactly your stance, Chris, on Rodrigo. But I saw there was a lot of mixed reactions on my timeline about Rodrigo. I know that Kelly and I were a little bit less optimistic about him.
Same.
But okay, so you're the same. So I got to ask you, because we've been talking about left wingers a lot, and we've been talking about Rodrigo a lot, right? Are you guys like Rodrigo's better than nothing? Because I kind of don't. I kind of don't want 70 million sunk in to a player for better than nothing. I don't know. Like I say this based on the historical evidence that Stan Kroenke and the club has operated in. And I think everything indicates to me, as is right now, they spent this much. If they push another 50, 60 into the market, everything indicates to me, don't fucking expect a whole lot in expect nothing in January and expect sub 100 in next summer.
Yep. Agreed.
Now, that might be like, people might look at me and say 100 is still a lot, but not in the modern market and depending on what you actually need. So is like anything better than nothing really is that a gamble? Like, and I'm future casting like a motherfucker here.
Yeah.
But like, is it because we're in the win now stage, Chris? Is that where you're coming from?
It depends on what club we're talking about. If we're talking about Arsenal,
200 episode, he drops the it depends.
He drops his punt, his tagline.
Trademarked. I love that.
Cup? Where's my cup? No, it does though, because obviously we're talking about Arsenal, and you make a $70 million or $80 million mistake where you don't get a tune out of the player, and everything that you read suggests that Rodrigo has no interest in leaving, despite the fact that he never plays.
Yeah.
You cannot buy a guy for 80 million or 90 million or whatever it would cost, and you're not sure about his commitment. You just can't if you're Arsenal, because we know that we can't sell that player. So he'll be here rotting on a contract, and we'll have to loan him out, in perpetuity, because we're not City. We can't just eat Jack Grealish's 100 million cost and then loan him to Everton 3 years later. We can't.
Why don't we talk about that, by the way? Jesus. He's gonna leave on a free for 100 million, and it didn't affect him at all.
It won't affect him at all.
Chelsea loaning out Valles, something like that. So a player that they brought in for like 60 million.
Victor Reis, or whatever his name is.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Like they're loaning him out to a 60 fucking million player. They're like,
well, because they bought him from
3 months didn't really convince me.
They loaned him.
Go out on loan.
Go do something else.
But it's not Chelsea where you're a mill and you just cycle through players and they don't work out for you. You sell them for more than you bought them. Like, we can't do that, or we won't. We refuse to do that. We're not seen. We don't have the perception of being good sellers, and so therefore we don't get good sales. And so we can't just take high risk punts on players like some other clubs can. And so if you're going to put that kind of outlay on a player that you're not sure about, and you're certainly not sure about his attitude, I don't know how you can if you're Arsenal. I'm with you, Mike, in that if it's Rodrigo or nothing, for a club like Arsenal, I don't think you can pull that string. As much as I think from a talent perspective, if he had the right attitude, he would certainly improve us. But we've seen way too often at Arsenal under this manager in the modern game, when a player doesn't have the right attitude, you have to pay them to go away. It's Mesut Ozil, it's Aubameyang, it's in some regards Pepe all over again. We cannot do that again. We cannot. Unfortunately,
we are far too risk averse to take big risks and have them miss. We do not just go and put our head down and see it as a cost of doing business and move on to the next thing quickly. We stew, and it negatively impacts what we do for the next 2 to 3 years. Like, in the grand scheme of things, basically every other top 4 club has made way bigger mistakes than Pepe way more frequently. And that still hangs. We allow that to hang over ourselves like a fucking disease that's floating in the air, ready to put us down again. So, like, no, we can't do that. And I've come to the point now too where it's like, I've lamented how KSE do business a ton. They're largely fine, but when the rubber meets the road and you're talking about the elite of the elite, they're an inferior ownership group, because again, their goal is to create a self-sustaining model. Like, even Liverpool, who is the ideal self-sustaining model, was going to spend 400 million on players in a single summer transfer window, totally reboot their squad. And because they see it as an opportunity. They've sold well. Their asset has grown in value, and so they want to be the best team in the world for the next 3 to 4 years. And they're doing the moves now that allow them to do that. We will never do that because, again, KSC would rather spend against a £3 billion asset. They'd rather save 50 to 75 million than win stuff. And they've done it for years, and they will continue to do that. And that's why I come back to my recent point. Like, their goal is to be there or thereabouts for 5 to 10 years and never be out of it, to minimize the potential for financial loss and maximize the chance that they're there when shit falls their way. And they don't want to cycle, and they would rather not have it 1 or 2 years out of the limelight to create 6 or 7 years of great opportunity, because it's too unstable and it creates too much financial risk. Because the goal is not to win stuff, it's to invest just enough to have your asset appreciated, be there or thereabouts. And that's just how they run things. And like, I guess it could be worse if we were going into fucking administration, but it could be a lot better if we were literally any other top 4 to 6 club, even if they're fucking morons like Manchester United and piss away money. At least they're ready to take a whiz with a lot of money, and they're going to keep pissing until they figure it out. We won't. We're not going to keep pissing. At some point, it's up to Mikel. It's on Mikel Arteta now, which seems insane to me. That It's kind of we've roughly spent, and we roughly give you about the 4th best team in the league. So it's up to you to win the Champions League and Premier League now with that asset. Yeah. You're roughly the 8th or 9th best team in the world, and you're roughly the 4th best team in the Premier League. So go win the Premier League and Champions League now. We've done all we can, because you haven't done all you can. They've done all they're going to do.
It's gonna be crazy when we wake up tomorrow to like a record-breaking transfer fee for some random left winger that we've never heard of.
Yeah, it's here. My best case scenario, Mike, is that we take an intelligent 20 to 30 million pound punt on a legitimately promising left winger from somewhere that we didn't know about. That's the best case scenario right now.
Chris just put that in the live chat. He says, "I'm happy to pay 35 million if you believe in the ceiling." And I again, listen, I see if that fits within the budget. I want to just clarify. I don't know what their fucking budget is, and when it's reported, it's very like vague. Like, a lot of people say that in England, the PSR, they have plenty of room, but then Ornstein came out and said, well, when UEFA FFP, they're kind of getting close to it. I don't know the budget. I don't know what the budget is, but this is what I'll say. The only reason I say we're kind of like maxed out on the summer is I'm literally going on recent history.
Yep.
It seems like around that 200 mil mark, that seems to be the tap out. Like, our best summer with them, I think it was 220, and that included sales. This now we're nearing 200 and we have no sales. Now I'm going to take the unpopular opinion and say I don't fully blame them for a few of the players that we still have. We still can potentially move them, but there's been a few reports, right? Vieira, it's been rejected because there's like an $8 million euro valuation that they're off. Porto is trying to get like Kivior, but like at a lesser fee and loan. Again, I think the other clubs are doing the smart thing that we would appreciate Arsenal would do, and just letting that fucking clock just wind down. So there might be some outs that I'm feeling optimistic that there's going to be a few outs, but I have a feeling that a few of these outs they're going to be able to move a few people away, and somebody's going to be like, for fuck's sake, 10 mil for Reece Nelson. Why didn't we get 20? Because Liverpool is selling blah 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 for this million, and then you're like, well, because he's on fucking like 10K a week, some shit like that. So I do think that they're going to leave, but I do think that other clubs do business too. Like, look, guys, we leveraged the holy fuck out of Gyökeres and Šeško. Like, who are we to tell them not to allow the clock to wind down in order to get? They know that Arsenal are desperate to get these players. They know that they're redundant to the club. That's far. Vieira barely played when he was here. He got sent out on loan. Nelson continues to get sent out on loan. Like, these are established players that like everybody fucking knows. Can't find anybody that wants to take Sambi Lokonga. So like, we're gonna have to take a hit on that. And here we are, like I'm talking about taking a punt on a 75, 80 million player, referring to Rodrigo, assuming that's the fee. So a lot to come. I'm gonna end it on a positive and say I'm optimistic on the way on players leaving. I'm just gonna say, guys, like if you're one of those guys that are on Twitter and say this player is so shit, he's not English Premier League, he's on high wages, oh my god, leave my fucking club, and then turn around and say, why didn't we sell him for 40 million? Find a fucking in between that, boys. Just that's all I'm saying. Just find an in between, because those are two very, very opposite fucking, very contradicting comments and feelings to have. Let's end this podcast, boys. It was brilliant having all of you guys back. I said by all of you guys, I mean Kelly back. I sometimes forget it's only 3 of us.
Kelly has the personality of like 6 people, so
that's what it is.
God help you.
Multiple split personalities. Absolutely. Chris, you want to tell dear listeners where they can find you on the way out?
West Suburban AFC and Leeds on the weekend. So sure we'll be back to talk about that game, and hopefully it's a bit more convincing and we look a bit more like ourselves. But yeah, this was a what do we call this episode, Mike?
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties this go around. We still got the 3 points, which at the end of the day, all that matters. And I hope we have some more to be joyful about this next weekend. So good to talk to you, boys.
Absolutely. Kelly?
At South Metro AFC. I can't do the Bane voice very well. It's just Sean Connery into my hands.
I have been Mike Hurst. I have been your host. Live chat, you have been absolutely amazing. You already know you can find us on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like this. Make sure you tell people where to find us, please. We're slowly growing, very gently, very softly, very, very slowly, but as I said. But live chat, you have been absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. You could also find us on audio on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you want. Other than that, boys and girls, till next time.
Right foot this time, Martin Odegaard.
Zinchenko from Ketty, it's 4. Martinelli tiptoeing in. Predatory, perfect. There is a gorgeous arrogance about Arsenal now.
It really is. They are enjoying every second of this.